So late last year, we got the Poco X3, and this was a device that was priced around 200 euros that packed a lot of great specs. It was a mid-range smartphone, but the price put it closer to the budget sector. And it got good reviews. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but overall, it got good reviews. Now this device is also the Poco X3, but instead of being the Poco X3 normal, it's the Poco X3 Pro. And the big deal about it is not a new design, it's more of an internal feature bump. Instead of a Snapdragon 732, you get a Snapdragon 860. One note about the 860 though is that it's not some new crazy type of processor that Qualcomm released. It's technically a Snapdragon 855 Plus that's been revamped to be the 860. Design is exactly the same. You still have that big stripe that's going up the middle. I personally think it's okay, but I'm not a fan of the Poco logo being at the bottom. Camera bump is still in the middle. I mean, every phone has a camera bump right now. At least if you have it on the table, it's not going to wobble if you're touching the middle of the device compared to other phones that have it on the side. USB Type-C, headphone jack, dual speakers. Now I'm going to do a little comparison against the M3, and you guys can see the difference. It's still made out of plastic, it still has aluminum railings around the device. The only visual change, which you're probably not going to notice, is that it's now using Gorilla Glass 6 instead of Gorilla Glass 5. Now the 6.67-inch LCD display is a pretty good display. You know, it's not going to beat out an OLED or anything, but it's not bad. I do have a few complaints though. Like when you're scrolling up and down, there's a bit of ghosting. And I also noticed that this phone has a lot of micro lag, and it's very apparent when you're scrolling up and down when you're using Google Now. Like just look at this. Like right now, it's having troubles registering my touch, and like look at all the little micro lag it's having when I'm scrolling. You see that? Like that should not be happening on a Snapdragon 860. This also happens too when I'm using Chrome. Like if I'm scrolling up and down, it's not as bad, but every once in a while, there's a tiny bit of micro lag. Now, I don't think this is a processor issue. It's not a RAM issue because there's 6 GB of RAM in here. I think this has to do more with the software. The other thing to note is that this 120 Hertz display doesn't get very bright. Like it's 450 nits, which was great like 3 or 4 years ago, but you go outdoors and you're gonna notice that the brightness needs to be cranked up all the time. The other thing I don't like is the software. Like MIUI is nice and clean. I don't have any complaints about the theming. What I do have a complaint about is the ads. Like why am I getting ads on a smartphone? I understand the price is lower, so they have to make up the revenue by introducing ads, but when I download software, after I install it, an ad pops up. Now, just like the Poco X3, it does have NFC, but it also gets an upgrade from UFS 2.1 to 3.1. So reading and writing should be faster on this device compared to the previous model. There's still no wireless charging, as expected, because this is a plastic back, but you still can fast charge it using the 33-watt fast charger that comes included in the box. But one interesting fact is that they're no longer using a 64-megapixel camera. They're using a 48-megapixel camera instead. Now, I don't have the X3 to compare it to, so I don't know how the pictures will look against it, but based on my testing of this device, they actually produce some pretty good results. This is obviously not going to beat out an iPhone or a Galaxy S21 Ultra, but for a mid-range smartphone, this device really holds up its own. I compared it to the more budget M3, and you can see that there's a big difference in terms of photo quality. Once you start going into night mode, it does the job too, but it gets a bit grainier. You start missing out detail in the shadows. There's a macro mode, which is okay, and you have the 8-megapixel ultra-wide sensor, which gives you more of the shot, but the fact that they include all these features like cloning and being able to record with your front-facing and rear-facing camera is really nice. Now this 20-megapixel camera is the exact same one as the Poco X3. It takes pretty good front-facing photos. It does smooth the skin ever so slightly, even if you turn off the feature completely. And a lot of you guys don't like that, and I understand, but I'm getting old. You know, I gotta hide these wrinkles, okay? My modeling days are over. Fingerprint scanner. It's on the right side. It's not my favorite spot. It's okay if you hold your phone with your right hand. It's super fast and accurate, and I get in right away. But I would have loved to have it on the back or embedded into the display. If you're someone who holds the phone with your left hand, it works fine. It's just you're gonna have to bind it to your middle finger. So every once in a while, you're gonna be flipping someone off. Now, if you're really into mobile games, the bump up from the 732 to the 860 is great. Like gaming on this, I didn't have any issues. There is Poco's liquid cooling technology, but overall it felt like gaming on any other high-end smartphone. Just remember that you are gaming on an LCD screen instead of an OLED one, so you won't get those deep, inky blacks and vibrant colors like you would on a Samsung device. But here's the bottom line. You know, like for the price, this packs a lot of great stuff. But you have to get over a couple of things. One, the ghosting when you're scrolling up and down of the display. It's not massive, but it is slightly noticeable. But more so the micro lag. That's something that will really bother me over the long run. Like this should not be happening on a Snapdragon 860. Like it just shouldn't be in there. And the other thing is ads. Why are there ads on the smartphone? We already get ads on YouTube. You're watching my video, you probably got served an ad. You get ads when you go on the web. We don't need it on a device that you purchased with your own money. I know why Poco's doing it. They're doing it to subsidize the lower price point so that most people can afford it, and I appreciate it, but I don't know. You know, it should be an option. Like maybe I want to buy a version of the phone that doesn't come with ads. Maybe charge slightly more money. I'd be happy to pay that so I don't get ads on my phone every time I download and install an app. But overall, for the price, it is a nice improvement compared to the Poco X3. And if you're looking for a mid-range device that comes with some premium specs, this is a device to take a look at. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one.